Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. Raising the minimum age to purchase a firearm to 21 years old is not the answer. It won't stop mass shooters. Here's why. In practicality, raising the age limit to purchase a long gun from 18 to 21 years old would essentially do nothing. It is true that Nikolas Cruz was 19 years old when he waged his attack at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. It's also true Cruz should not have been allowed to purchase a firearm no matter what his age. And if law enforcement had done their job, which they did not, Cruz would not have been allowed. He would have been denied purchase and possession of a firearm. The fact of the matter is, the vast majority of mass shooters in our country in the past 50 years have been older than 21 years old. Sutherland Springs shooter Devin Kelly, 26. Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock, 64. Dallas police shooter Micah Johnson, 25. Orlando nightclub shooter Omar Mateen, 29. Dylan Roof, 21. James Holmes, 24. Jared Loeffner, 22. Gabby Giffords shooter Nadal Hassan, 39. Virginia Tech shooter, 23. Since 2009, only 2 males under 21 have committed mass shootings with semi-automatic rifles. Only one of those killers purchased that firearm legally, and that was only because of unacceptable failure of law enforcement to apply laws to him that should have prevented him from that legal purchase. We can see for ourselves that raising the age limit to purchase a firearm would not have stopped the vast majority of these criminals, and that's assuming an age limit would have been a barrier significant enough to stop the rest of the younger murderers from getting their hands on a gun some other way. I find that very hard to believe, since the mass shooters in our nation who have been under 21, the vast majority didn't obtain their firearms legally. Either they stole them or they obtained them illegally. What raising the age does do, raising the minimum age deprives millions of law-abiding Americans between the ages of 18 and 20, old enough to serve and die for our country. It deprives them the right to bear arms. It punishes these law-abiding young adults for the hideous crimes somebody else committed, without even the assurance that depriving law-abiding Americans of their liberty would ensure somebody else's safety. But equally as important here, and we should ask ourselves every day, why aren't liberals and why isn't the mainstream media asking these questions? Besides their ages, the pattern we see amongst the majority of these shooters is the fact that none of them should have been able to acquire a firearm legally under our current laws that we already have on the books. But somehow they did. Devin Kelly, the Sutherland Springs shooter, should have failed his background check after his conviction in the Air Force for domestic violence. Tashfeen Malik, the San Bernardino terrorist, should have been denied entry to the United States for publicly pledging allegiance to ISIS on her social media. Nikolas Cruz, the Parkland shooter, should have been prosecuted for felony cyberstalking, making death threats against specific people, and committing domestic violence against his mother. The pattern we see is not a pattern of age. The pattern we see is a pattern of failure on the part of our institutions. The FBI, the Sheriff's Department, the Air Force, the government institutions liberals want us to rely on to keep us safe, even when these government institutions didn't keep us safe. And that is my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good night.